So this next section, it's going to be 30 minutes on the subconscious mind. And there are actually books and books and books and volumes about the subconscious mind and how that affects our life. So, but we're going to cover all that in 30 minutes. Here's a quote. It says, "Theories that diseases are caused by mental states and can be cured by willpower are always an index of how much is not understood about the physical terrain of a disease." It's from Susan Sontag. Basically, some people think that obesity is caused by lack of willpower. You're overweight because you don't have the willpower. But that's not true. It's the insulin that causes you to put on fat tissue. Your body is a well-regulated machine, and the hormones regulate what happens. And it's the carbohydrates in your diet that cause the insulin to pack on the pounds and make those fat cells grow. We talked about this at the very beginning. Willpower never cured anything. Willpower is not the cure for a disease. You know, an interesting thing is I was talking to a lady at the back of the room, and she said, "Oh yeah, it's like 10 years ago when I stopped smoking." And I asked her, I said, "Was stopping smoking hard or easy?" She said, "Well, you know, for me it was easy." And the thing is that once you flip a switch in your mind, once you decide I'm done eating these refined carbohydrates, I'm done eating this stuff that's not healthy for me, once you flip that switch, it's easy. It requires no willpower. So what is the subconscious mind? Basically, your subconscious mind is a giant supercomputer that you have installed in your head. And what that subconscious mind, it does two things. Number one, it filters information, and number two, it runs programs to make your life easier. The subconscious mind filters information. Basically, it's estimated that there are 15 billion bits or 15 billion pieces of information that enter your sensory experience every second. So all of your vision enters into your perception, your skin, the room temperature, the feeling of where your body is, what you're hearing, all that stuff, your subconscious mind is filtering that all the time and brings certain things to your attention that it thinks are important. Your conscious mind, on the other hand, can only focus on one or two things at a time. That's why, it's kind of a bad example, but that's why if you're in the car and you're texting, you should pull over, because you can't focus on driving and texting at the same time. If you're sitting in a crowded restaurant, there's 50 conversations going on all around you. How many conversations can you really pay attention to at once? For instance, let's say you're supposed to be talking to your spouse and you and your spouse are having a conversation, but the people in the table behind you, they're having kind of an interesting conversation too, and you're overhearing them. If you're paying attention to the conversation behind you, it's really difficult to keep up with the one in front of you. Your conscious mind can't focus on those two conversations at the same time. On the other hand, inside that same restaurant, if there are 50 conversations going on, and you hear at a table over here somebody mention your name, boom. Your subconscious is following all 50 conversations in the restaurant. And as soon as it hears your name at this table over here, you turn and look. You say, well, who's saying my name? And that's how your subconscious filters information. Now, your subconscious, just like a computer, it runs programs to make your life easier. But it doesn't judge whether the program is beneficial to you or harmful to you. For instance, driving a car. If you think about, just close your eyes for a second and just think about the first time you drove a car. Was it easy or hard? Did it require a lot of attention, or was it second nature? I mean, you can open your eyes. But I mean, basically, driving a car is a difficult experience because you have to pay attention to where you're going, your acceleration, deceleration, right, left. You have to use both of your hands. You have to use one foot, and if you're driving a standard, you use 2 feet. You know, it's kind of a difficult, complex thing. But now when you drive every single day, you just hop in the car and turn the key. It's second nature. It's super easy. In fact, you don't even pay attention to your driving unless something unusual happens. Somebody pulls out in front of you. That's because your subconscious mind just turns on the drive the car program. It's like riding a bike. Riding a bike when you're a kid, you fall off, you fall off, you fall off. It's hard. You get to be an adult and it's as easy as riding a bike because you have the bike riding program. These same things happen, these same programs happen around food. Let's see if that's the next slide. Yeah. Your subconscious mind actually makes most of your decisions about food for you. You say consciously, I want to eat something. What am I going to eat? You got a bunch of programs in the back that say what's normal to eat and what's not normal to eat. For instance, how many of you eat sushi 3 or 4 times a week? Somebody does. How about menudo? 3 or 4 times a week? No. You know, the thing is that the only reason that people don't eat sushi 3 or 4 times a week is that they haven't installed the program. The only reason you don't eat menudo 3 or 4 times a week is you haven't installed the program. And for instance, let's say you start eating sushi 3 or 4 times a week. And you eat it over and over and over, week after week after week. Then guess what? You've installed the program. Now you've got the program installed, and that's what you perceive to be normal. This same thing happens around what restaurants you go to. You have your favorite restaurants and your favorite foods. How those things got established, I don't know. Different reasons for different people. But when you and your wife sit there and say, well, where should we go tonight? Well, there's this, and this. You know, it's the same 4 or 5 restaurants that you always think of over and over. You just pull it up out of the subconscious program. Additionally, a lot of people have been subconsciously programmed that fat is unhealthy since the 1980s, and that whole grains, heart-healthy whole grains, are healthy. And those kind of things, those are programs that should be uninstalled from your mind. And the reason that this conference is a full-day conference is so that we can start uninstalling those programs. And then we also have some tools that will help you do it. The problem is that, let's see if willpower is next, yeah. The problem is that anytime you try to change a habit, you realize how hard it is to change the habit. Whether that's, if you've ever broken any habit, biting your fingernails, smoking. You say, I'm done smoking, I'm done biting my fingernails, I'm done cracking my knuckles. Whatever, any kind of habit you've tried to change, as soon as you attempt to do it, you realize how hard it is. And the reason that it's so hard is that your conscious mind is about 15 billion times smaller than your subconscious. So the part of your brain that you use as your conscious mind is this big, and the subconscious is as big as this room. And your conscious mind decides, I'm done biting my fingernails. So your conscious mind tries to strong arm or arm wrestle this enormous subconscious supercomputer that's running programs. And willpower doesn't work because the conscious mind is too small, number one, and number two, it generates conflict, which makes you miserable. Because you have programs, and the programs run and run and run. And while those programs are running, you consciously can say, oh, look, I'm done biting my fingernails. But that conflict makes you uncomfortable. And while you're uncomfortable, it makes you want to resolve the conflict, and you resolve the conflict by going back to whatever your old habits were. I'll say one other thing, that when you develop any sort of habit, your mind actually develops your actual brain develops new neural pathways. The parts of the brain that you use over and over and over, those parts of your brain get stronger. They actually grow in size. So it's not just that you have a habit and it's something you think about. It's like there is a part of your brain that is dedicated to doing that habit. And that's why smokers, when they start smoking, it's actually difficult. They have to learn to start smoking. It's hard to inhale smoke into your body and hold it in without coughing. And, you light a cigarette, how do you hold it? You don't want to burn yourself. It's hard to learn to start smoking. But eventually, second nature. You reach for a cigarette and you don't even realize you're doing it. That's when you have the program installed. So how do you de-install one of these programs? Number one, I've provided everybody here with the meditation CD. And the meditation CD is a CD that's designed to uninstall the Eating Carbs program and reinstall the Cut the Killer Carbs program. It reinforces everything we've talked about today. Both hypnosis and meditation, those are ways that you turn off your conscious mind. You bypass the conscious mind. And instead of trying to convince yourself of something consciously, you just relax. And you just listen. And you just let the words of the meditation kind of drift over you. And it's a direct route into your subconscious mind, bypassing the conscious. So when your conscious mind is fighting with your subconscious, there's conflict. But when you just turn off the conscious mind and just listen to the meditation, there's no conflict. So there's no willpower. There's no willpower involved in this method. And I'll tell you about that CD. That CD, you can put it on an MP3 player, put it on your iPhone, your smartphone. You can put it inside a CD player in your house. Don't listen to it when you're driving because it's meditation and you don't want to relax yourself right into a telephone pole. It's made to listen to right before you go to bed at night, right before you go to sleep at night, so that you'll think about that during the course of the night. So it will impress itself into your subconscious mind. And that CD has 4 meditations. You should listen to meditation 1 every night for the first 3 weeks. Meditation 2 every night for the next 3 weeks. Meditation 3 every night for the next 3 weeks. And meditation 4 every night for the next 3 weeks. That's 3 months. The reason I find hypnosis and meditation so helpful for me is that I have trouble sleeping at night. And I listen to one of these things and I go right to sleep. So, if you fall asleep easily, like my wife, she goes to sleep within 30 seconds of hitting the bed. If you fall asleep easily, you need to at least kind of stay awake and conscious through the verbal part. You need to stay awake through the verbal part. So, you may choose to do it sitting up in a chair, listen to it sitting up in a chair before you go to bed. The other thing you can do is you can reprogram your subconscious by simply working through the conscious mind to learn new things. And that's why I gave you the list of books and the list of movies. The meditation CD, it bypasses the conscious mind. It bypasses your thinking mind. But reading books and watching movies, those are conscious things that you can do. Because if you read the Atkins diet book and he says, oh, your cholesterol gets better and you lose weight, this is great. And then you read a Slim Now, Slim Forever, that's another book on the list. And then you read Good Calories, Bad Calories. And then you read Wheat Belly. After you read it over and over and over, you realize, oh, maybe this is really what I should do. Maybe this really does make sense to your conscious mind. And the third thing is the daily change in behavior. Because I can tell you, every time you pass up the killer carbs and you eat something different, something that's healthy for you, something that actually gives you energy and makes you feel better, every time you do that, you start creating those new neural pathways, those new parts in your brain that are going to make your new low-carb lifestyle easy. For instance, was eating a hamburger without the bun normal for me? No. Was eating a head of lettuce at almost every meal normal for me? No. Was eating eggs every morning for breakfast normal for me? No. But it is now. It isn't after 2 years, it is now. You know, in fact, I can think back of when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my 3 favorite foods were mashed potatoes, baked potato, and French fries. That's potatoes, potatoes, and potatoes. Carbs, carbs, and carbs. And you know, that was a program. I installed the potato eating program. And when I was a kid, for breakfast, I would eat breakfast cereal. It had sugar on it. And I'd have some orange juice, low-fat milk, which makes carbs, 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 and carbs. And I thought that was normal, you know, day after day after day after day, the same thing. And when I was a kid, I'd go to McDonald's, and I like a McDonald's burger. It was a little tiny patty of meat with a big bun on it. That's carbs. And then there's French fries, which is carbs, and a soda, which is carbs. And if I was lucky and I was getting a reward to get an apple pie, that's more carbs. Carbs, 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 carbs. So, I mean, you can see how you repeat these activities all the time, and you think it's normal. So it's time to uninstall some of those programs and make a new normal. Reprogram your subconscious, don't fight it. Don't try and use willpower to fight something as big as this room. Don't try to use the tiny little conscious mind to fight your subconscious. You can do it. There's no willpower required. That was a short section. We'll do some questions, and then you guys want to do a break or no break? No break, because it was short. We'll do a few questions and then go on to the next section. The next section is long. Yes, ma'am.
How come beans are so bad for you then? All my life I've been told, eat pinto beans,
They're just starchy. Beans, like green beans are not bad for you. Dried beans, which are like the pinto beans, the black beans, they're just starchy. You know, you can rank everything in terms of how bad it is for you. It depends on what your goals are, you know. If you get, let's say you decide that what you're going to do is you're going to count carbs. If you're going to count carbs and lose weight, then you can eat beans and count carbs. For me, counting anything did not appeal to me. The idea of counting anything. I just wanted to know what I could eat and what I couldn't eat. And then that way I could put as much of that on my plate as I wanted to. So I would eat beans, but if I ate beans, I would eat very little beans. I mean, I'm saying I did eat beans. I do eat beans, but I eat very little. Yeah. They're just starchy, sugary. Anything else? Don't be eating cornbread. Okay, let's go on to the next section.
Let me ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
What's the difference in the carbs that's found in wheat and what's found in lettuce?
2 things. Number 1, the amount. There are 92 grams of carbs in a cup of wheat flour. And there are about 1 gram of carbs or 2 grams of carbs in a head of lettuce. So it's the amount. So you could eat 100 heads of lettuce before you got the amount of carbs you're going to get in your wheat flour. I'm just ballparking the carbs in lettuce. I don't actually know the number. Maybe it's 5. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 5. So number 1 is the amount. Number 2 is the type. Wheat contains a type of sugar called amylopectin A. And amylopectin A raises your blood sugar higher than most other carbohydrates. So she asked the question about beans. So what's better, wheat or beans? Well, beans have amylopectin C. Amylopectin C is not digested very well, and so that's why beans give you gas, because some of the carbohydrates pass through your digestive system, and the bacteria in your digestive system turns those carbohydrates into gas. But wheat, amylopectin A, is rapidly absorbed and raises your blood sugar more than any other carbohydrate. That's what's bad about wheat. The thing about wheat is this. If you took wheat versus table sugar, wheat will raise your blood sugar higher than table sugar will. And in that book, Wheat Belly, he goes through it in detail. But basically, the amylopectin A is rapidly absorbed. What do you think raises your blood sugar more? A Snickers bar or 2 pieces of whole wheat bread? Whole wheat bread. And that's in that book, Wheat Belly. So that's why you think it's harmless, right? You know a Snickers bar is supposed to be bad for you. You know that. And so if you choose to eat a Snickers bar, you're eating a Snickers bar because you're choosing to eat something that maybe is not healthy for you. But 2 slices of whole wheat bread, you think that's supposed to be healthy. And it's not. Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
If you're eating something, can you take some extra fiber to bring your net carbs down?
No. Bummer. Yeah, and you know, that's the thing about a lot of diets and systems is that they think that you can add something. They think that you can add something to make it healthier. But this isn't about adding something. This is about taking something away. That's basically why whole wheat bread is not really much better for you than white bread. Because you add the fiber to it, but it still raises your blood sugar too high.
Okay, I have another question.
Yes, ma'am?
I enjoy a cocktail every now and then. What's that kind of a healthy cocktail? If there had to be one. I'm just being honest. I mean,
You know, I don't, the question was, what's a healthy cocktail? I don't exactly know the answer to that. I would say that you should learn what's in whatever you drink. And I would learn what the net carbs are. And if you, but for instance, like a margarita can be 1,000 calories. And, you know, one margarita, 1,000 calories. And it's all sugar. Sugar and alcohol. So it's carbohydrate. So, I mean, you may...
red wine would be just straight sugar.
Well, red wine would have less net carbs. Basically, gin and distilled spirits, red wine have less net carbs in them than do beer, for instance. And I would just tell you, Google it. You know, if you're going to have whatever, look it up and ask and see what it has. Yeah, we'll talk about that. I think that's the next section. And you know, the question can be either A, do I have to stop drinking or should I stop drinking? Or B, do I just need to have low-carb drinks? That's kind of a decision for you to make on your own. For example, William Banting. We'll go ahead and start hour 5. William Banting, in his letter on corpulence, 1869, he details what his diet was. And in his diet, he had 6 alcoholic drinks a day, every day, and lost 50 pounds, and kept it off for at least 6 years. But what I'm saying is, basically what he did is he had low-carb alcohol. Now, if your diet consists of 1 drink a day, then perhaps you don't have to stop drinking. If you think, well, maybe I should stop drinking. I mean, you know, you're on a health journey. Maybe now's a good time to do it.